Hi folks, and welcome to the Meaningful Money podcast. This is session number 420, and today I welcome a gentleman called Ian Dibb of a company called Once I've Gone to talk about a really important subject, but one which so often gets left far too late. This is the podcast dedicated to helping you put your finances in order. My name is Pete Matthew, and I'm going to share with you everything you need to know and everything you need to do to secure your financial future. I'm here to help you make sense of money. Hello, good to have you with me. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we go any further, don't forget that this podcast is brought to you with the continued help of my friends at 7 Investment Management. Huge thanks to them. Please do check out what they're up to. They're at 7im.co.uk. Now, in my 20-odd year career as a financial planner, I've worked with many bereaved clients who have lost spouses, partners, parents, other loved ones. And obviously the emotional impact is profound, but that's often compounded by the additional pressure of having to go through somebody's financial and their other affairs just to get things straight. This process is always made so much easier if the person who has died was organised beforehand. I've often espoused the benefits of having something that I like to call a when I die file or a WID file, just to make life easier for those who are left behind. And essentially, that's what the company Once I've Gone are helping people to prepare. But I'll let Ian Dibb, the founder and CEO of the company, explain more. So remember, notes, links from the show notes, and also a link to Once I've Gone, of course, is all at the show notes for this episode. It's the only link you need to remember, meaningfulmoney.tv/session420. meaningfulmoney.tv/session420. Here's my conversation with Ian Dibb. Hope you enjoy it. Well, it's my pleasure to welcome Ian Dibb of Once I've Gone to the Meaningful Money podcast. Ian, great to see you. How are you doing today?
Very well. Thank you for inviting me, Pete.
No worries. Where are you speaking to us from today?
We are in our office in Charlestown, down in Cornwall.
Good. We could probably have done this in person if COVID didn't have other ideas, but never mind.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely hook that up. So I was introduced to you by a mutual friend, Jed Dixon, who's an advisor here in Cornwall, and I get a lot of requests to talk to people about different services and things like that, but this one really piqued my interest, so I'm really looking forward to talking to you about it. But can you just give us your backstory, Ian, so you know how you got to this point, what your career history is, just so that we got some context for where you are now?
Yeah, so Once I've Gone came about, I was 26, living in New Zealand, and I got a phone call from my mum to say, Ian, your sister sadly passed away.
Oh, gosh.
Wow. Yeah, Jane was 28 and she'd been suffering from bipolar for 15 years. So she sadly took her own life after a huge amount of struggling. So I flew home for the funeral. And it was during that time when I was back in the UK, I think it was a 3-week period, my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Oh, God. So, yeah, I went through from a family of 6 down to a family of 4. And
Wow.
It really was during this process of losing Mum and Jane, you realise that one of the key things, and one thing which has happened to us all, is we need to prepare for a time that we're no longer around. So that was a catalyst for creating Once I've Gone.
Okay. So, but how did you get to this point? What were you doing? Were you just traveling in New Zealand, or were you in this sort of industry at all, or is it a completely new thing for you?
No, I finished university. I'd done a degree in sports science. I was living in New Zealand, working in running a bar on a beach, which was absolutely fantastic. But it was just a couple of years of traveling and enjoying the world, really. And I came back to the UK as soon as Mum was diagnosed with cancer. Came back to the UK, and from the date of diagnosis to her death was, I think, it was around 18 months. Mm-hmm. So I was working in a local company and also spending a huge amount of time caring for Mum. And it just was one of these things that I sat down with the family one day and said, look, guys, we've just been through the mill with both Mum and Jane. There's got to be a way that we can start talking about this, because it's one of the only, I think it is the only thing in life which is 100% guaranteed.
Yeah.
There will be a point when we're no longer here. And the question was in my head, do we want to do something about it for our loved ones, or do we ignore it and make things harder? So our plan is with very much with Once I've Gone is to help people through the process of dealing with this, but in a way that feels really comfortable.
Yeah. Why is it you think, it's not that I don't sort of have my own views on the answer to this question, of course, but I wonder, why is it that you think that people, as a general rule, don't prepare for that day? Why do you think the main reasons are that that's the case?
See, I speak to people in lots of different organizations, and I speak to people on the whole about end of life. And it's not that they don't want to address it, because we're all aware of our own mortality, but it's just one of those things you think you've got years to sort it out.
Yeah, sure.
So it's just one of those things you can put off, and a lot of people do. And they also feel it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with their kids or their parents. But what we're seeing now is, with the rise of these online planning portals, it's becoming far easier to do. But we want to make people aware that tomorrow is promised to no one. And if you've got your affairs in order, you've done all you can for your loved ones, you've created this amazing legacy, then you've kind of got the peace of mind that you can live as though you're going to live forever, because everything's sorted. So I think it's just, we expect to live forever, and therefore we don't plan for that kind of urgency. But we really want people to use this platform on a kind of day-to-day basis. Okay. So for managing your affairs on a day-to-day basis, but also at the same point, if something does happen to you, you've made life far easier for your loved ones.
So what are the kind of things then, I mean, obviously some of us die very suddenly, some have a very long and slow decline, but whichever is the case, you must have had experience of people struggling to sort things out for their loved ones after they've gone. What sort of challenges might executors and representatives face if this stuff isn't thought about ahead of time?
There's a multitude. So from trying to find out if mum or dad had a will, is that will the most up-to-date one? If so, where is it stored? But there's a key decision. So as soon as somebody passes away, you're sat down with the funeral director and they're saying, what did your mum want? And it's a huge decision to make, from songs, hymns, readings. But the main kind of thing is burial or cremation. Because if you get it wrong and you find out later down the line, you can't go back and change it. No. So for me, when I sat down with the undertaker for my sister and mum's, I had no idea. And so Jane was 28, mum was 57. And they both got a very similar funeral. Now, if I'd have had that information beforehand, I could have given them a celebration or a funeral that celebrates their life, knowing that we've done all we can as people to help those people on their final journey. And I think that's massively important. But one of the key things is trying to take away those decisions from your loved ones. It's an amazing gift to say, look, if something happens to me, this is the song. I want to be buried. I want to be scattered at sea. These type of decisions. But also at the same point, we're now moving into this paperless society. Sure. Where we no longer send hard copies of letters, insurance documents. It's all online. It's all in online portals. And therefore, if your family members don't know about the existence of these portals, policies, and statements, there's a very high chance that they'll struggle to find access or find these documentations, which has led to the massive increase in the unclaimed assets. And I think there's anywhere between 70 and 100 billion in unclaimed assets in the UK at any one point. Oh, yeah. Now, this is something which is easily achievable. We can remove that by simply planning ahead and telling people where the documentations are and telling them what your wishes are, and also trying to create that legacy of who you are as a person. So should something happen to you, your family given this incredible gift, you've made life that little bit easier for them.
Absolutely. I often talk to clients, and I've talked on the podcast here about creating something called a WID file, right? When I die. Once I've gone is a much nicer way to put it, I have to say. But that came about from a client who said that to me out of the blue. She had just a sort of an annual review meeting with her. And she said, Pete, you'll be pleased to know I've created a SID file. I said, a SID file, Mary? What's that? And she said, well, it's a should I die. And so we laughed about the fact, well, should? It's going to happen eventually, so let's call it a when I die. But, the point of her, she said, the very front thing in the file is your business card, because obviously I know all of our investment accounts and things like that, and obviously I can help the executors with that. But that sort of piqued my interest, and I've sort of developed it into the idea of a when I die file. And as you say, just having the conversation in advance and being somewhat organized in advance to make it easy. I mean, there's so much emotional turmoil going on at that time anyway, to put then administrative difficulties and questioning sort of decisions and things like that on your executors at the same time is obviously not what they need. So as easy as we can make it for them, the better. So how did you then sort of make the shift? Obviously you lost your sister and your mom and experienced some of these issues, these difficulties, and a light goes on in your head and you think, okay, there's a service here. Tell me about that story. How did you then sort of go about setting up Once I've Gone?
Yeah, so it was, we were sat around a lounge one afternoon, and I said to my family, look, we've just been through the process with Mum and Jane. What can be done to make this easier? And it very much is. It's a very simple thing to do. We live in this society where everything is now become digitized. So it's the whole process was right. What information do we need to have? What's the important information we need to gather? And we spent a huge amount of time talking to industry professionals, from financial advisors, solicitors, wealth managers, all these different organizations who actually have these one-on-one end-of-life conversations with their clients already.
Yeah.
So, and we said, how can we develop a platform that will complement what you already do and add huge benefit to the end user as well? So it was then looking at what information is needed by the next of kin if you were to pass away tomorrow. So where is the location of your will, life insurance, advanced care directives, do not resuscitate orders, all this key information. And the same point is that when Mum passed away and Jane passed away, you quite quickly forget the sound of that person's voice. So what I want, and what the team at Once I've Gone have, is we allow you to record amazing video messages for those family members.
Wow.
So on my phone, I have 20,000 pictures. And I have an 8-year-old daughter, an 18-year-old stepson, and I'm married. All of my videos and all my pictures on my phone are of my children and my wife. How many times do we actually record videos of ourselves and pictures of ourselves to be shared with those individuals at a time we're not here? And for me, this is incredibly powerful, that I can't promise my daughter I'll always be here, but if I've made a huge effort to create these legacy messages that get sent at a time I'm no longer here, then that's as much as I can do. So the whole platform has been developed from let us help you get organized. Let us help you store a digital copy of all of your important documents. But let's help you to create this legacy as well of who you are and how important these people in your life are to you. So we basically sketched that out, and we got our team to develop the platform. And the platform is continually being evolved and adding new features and making it far easier for people to use. But a key thing is really just telling people we exist, and telling people that a lot of people aren't aware, I should say, of the existence of life planning platforms like Once I've Gone. But when you sit down with them and you tell them exactly what it does and how it works and the real benefit of using this, it's an incredible gift for your loved ones. Then you understand that once you've been through the process, you have that peace of mind that everything is taken care of. And it's an easy platform to use as well.
Yeah, very much so. It looks great. Obviously, I've yet to sort of really dig in, but hoping to do that soon. And it's so, you built the platform. So somebody goes to the Once I've Gone website and signs up. What sort of journey can they expect to be taken through to get all this stuff up and running and ready?
Yeah, so we've broken the site down into 3 key areas, which are organize, plan, and store. So the organize section is very much Once I've Gone holding your hand through the process of getting your affairs in order. So we have a list of, let's upload a copy of your bank account, your savings account, your pension portal, your life insurance, car insurance, house insurance, savings, trusts. We guide you through those products you really should have on there. And we help you upload the location of the documents and a digital backup of each one. So we kind of signpost you to the location of all policies. The store section takes that one step further, and you can upload, if you're a business owner, for instance, you can upload your employee contracts and your insurance policies. So therefore, you can upload photos, videos, family recipes, everything you would want to be passed on to that next generation. Like, no one needs to lose the location of Granny's favorite chocolate cake, because we'll store the recipe for future generations. And then the final section really is the plan section, which is all about the legacy, like leaving messages for those you love. What do you want to achieve in your lifetime? So one of the sections we have is called the bucket list. Now, Pete, I imagine there's things on your bucket list you would like to achieve. It might well be you want to go and see the Northern Lights, but we all have these dreams and aspirations. So we help you to not only write them down, but should you not achieve them during your lifetime, we give your bucket list to your next of kin to achieve on your behalf. So it's an incredibly easy to use platform. And the way it works is you join Once I've Gone, and we ask you to add your trusted contacts, who are the individuals who have access to your information once you've gone. And we've just launched a new feature, which is called Professional Contacts. And this is where you add in your financial advisor, your wealth manager, your solicitor. So all of a sudden, if something happened to me, my wife knows who my financial advisor is, and instantly can make contact with them. And it's also the same way as the organizations we work with can then be notified upon the death of one of their clients. It's about removing that gap of knowledge when somebody passes away.
Okay. So providers then so are you notifying providers if one of your clients passes away, or is it just so all the information is together? Sorry, I just sort of missed that bit there.
Yeah, so we notify them.
Oh,
so
wow,
if you
fantastic.
are an organization that works with, let's say you're a financial advice firm, and you work with Once I've Gone, and you offer Once I've Gone to your clients, you can automatically be added as a professional contact. Mm-hmm. So as soon as one of your clients passes away, we will send you a notification to say, John Smith passed away on this morning. And also the recipients, the trusted contacts, are given the same information. So therefore, that advisor can get in contact with the family member and help them through the process of dealing with the estate and managing that intergenerational wealth. So it's about, we want to try and help individuals to make sure they don't make costly mistakes. Sure. Because how often do we lose insurance policies? And I kind of think one of the key things that happens when you die, or you're dealing with the death of a loved one, is your mind goes blank. And you simply don't know what to do. So our journey with Once I've Gone is to advise the client how to get their affairs in order, how to get their trusted contacts added, but also linking through to our partner organizations to help them with that process.
Okay, fantastic. What about digital assets? Yeah, I'm reading a lot about this at the minute because obviously increasing, as you said, amounts of our lives are online, our Gmail accounts, our iCloud accounts, or whatever. How is that all factored into, what we leave for our families when we've gone?
Yeah, the whole digital asset side it's a growing problem, because I think the average person has about 80 online passwords, portals, and it's trying to manage them in a safe and efficient way. So it's all about making sure that your family have access to those key policies without giving away the passwords to them, sure, so to speak. Because as you know, Pete, that it's still an issue that do you really own that iCloud account, and do you own all the information within it? Yeah. So what we try and do is gather and hold that key information, which is the important policies documentation. But you start looking at cryptocurrency and where that's going as well. It's an absolute minefield, but it's something the team at Once I've Gone are working towards to make sure that we can help you not only through your physical assets, but also your digital assets as well, like passwords and, as you said, crypto wallets.
Yeah, I mean, it's a minefield. I mean, my 1Password account, I think, is just tipped over 700 passwords. And I mean, obviously, I got tons of online portals for work. And that's sort of 20 years of online activity, building up. I'm sure some of them are obsolete now, but that's a lot of information. And I sometimes think, man alive, there would be an awful lot of work to do to close things down and to sift through even the sort of active stuff. I mean, I have, I think, half a dozen different email addresses for different spheres of my life, and that's a lot of email accounts that would need to be sorted through and gone through. And so it's a big piece of work. So I think that's going to be increasingly important, as well as the physical or real world sort of assets. I had a client recently lost his father to COVID. pretty wealthy family, there was 90 odd lines of assets on a spreadsheet. I mean, sorting through that was a nightmare. There was sort of at least sort of 3 or 4 different financial advisors involved, so not sort of very joined up. We could do a lot to make it easier for those left behind. I'm always banging on about simplicity, and I think for those that we leave behind, simplicity is going to be a real gift, isn't it?
It absolutely is. So we always talk about the worst case scenario and work backwards from that. So if you were to lose your mum and dad in a kind of house fire, you would come home to nothing.
Yeah.
There is no starting point. There is no information about your financial advisor, your solicitor, your documentation, the location of your will, the assets you own. That is the worst case scenario. But unfortunately, it does happen.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So if with Once I've Gone, we have a digital copy of every single document that signposts you to the hard copy, but it also signposts you to those organizations as an individual you've been working with. So if you plan for the worst and hope for the best, you know that we have that digital backup of all these important documents. So should something happen to you, your loved ones can get on and deal with the estate. And yes, we do hope that doesn't happen to people. But at the same point, if you plan for that, you know that everything is covered.
So other than going to the Once I've Gone website, we're going to give them those details in just a sec. Anybody listening to this now, what is one quick thing that they can do to make life easier for those left behind if they are taken suddenly?
I think one of the key things we all need is a will, a legal document to get your affairs in order. And just because you've written your will doesn't mean you're going to die. And as lots of people think, pick up the phone, speak to your advisor, get your will written, because it's the most important document you can have. And it really does show how much you care for your loved ones. It's a simple thing to do, and you can action it in less than a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I quite agree. Great advice. Regular listeners of yours will know I have an agreement with farewell.com, who are doing great work. But okay, Ian, where can people go to find out more about Once I've Gone? And this is your moment, right? So pitch it to us and let us know where people can go to find out more.
Yeah, so go onto the website onceivegone.com. We have a 30-day free trial, so anyone can log on, go through the process of looking at the condition of your estate. Are you ready for death? Are you organised? Have you left amazing messages for those you love? Have you done all you can for your friends and family? And if the answer is no, join up today. You can always contact me on LinkedIn as well, and we'll happily talk you through this, the way the platform works. But for me, this is probably one of the greatest gifts that you can give to your loved ones. Everything is organised, everything is easy, and you've left that legacy for those you love.
Fantastic. I absolutely agree. I think if there's one thing this last year and a half or so has taught us with the coronavirus thing, is that these things really can happen. I can count at least half a dozen client families who have lost someone somewhere in their family due to COVID, and of course that's on top of all the other things that could take us. And without being morbid, you're dead right, it really is a gift to be able to make this whole process easier for those left behind. So Ian, I wish you all the very best with Once I've Gone and all that you're doing there, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for your time, Pete. It was a pleasure to meet.
Okay, there you go. Now, I know that nobody wakes up on a Saturday morning and decides they're going to spend the day preparing financially and paperwork for their demise. But no matter what your age, I do think making some time to spend just an hour considering the point of view of those left behind and trying to make it easier for them in advance, I think that's time well spent. I'm actually in the process of doing this, or updating it rather, for Joe. If I go first, making sure everything is central, and in one place and easy to access. Should I get hit by a bus tomorrow? Fingers crossed that doesn't happen. So if you haven't made a will yet, obviously do that first. I have an agreement with farewell.com, where you can get 20% off a will, and Meaningful Money gets a little cut of the commission for that as well. But that's meaningfulmoney.tv/farewell. I'll put a link to that. But when you're doing that, while you're at that, consider something like the Once I've Gone service, so that you can coordinate all the moving parts of what will be left behind once you've gone. For the sake of clarity, I have no commercial agreement with Once I've Gone. They're not paying me for leads generated or accounts signed up or anything. They haven't paid to appear on the show. I just think what they're doing is really important, so do check them out, and I hope you get on okay with them. So next time, we're going to be talking to fellow financial planner and podcaster from across the pond, Joe Oakley, about the challenges facing young families, how to address them. A really important subject. That's it for this session of the podcast. I hope it was helpful. My thanks again to Ian Dibb of Once I've Gone. Any questions or comments or to connect with those guys, meaningfulmoney.tv/session420. Hope you enjoyed it, folks. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I'll talk to you next time.